Okay. Now, it goes without saying, ladies, who's got a phone here? Just hold it up, high, so that everyone can say goodbye in general to the phone. Everyone, bye phone, bye phone, bye phone. Okay, I can see everything. Okay, so I'm passing around Shiur Klali. Your heart's on the wrong side. It's very dangerous. Your heart's on your... Oh, it's on your left side. It's fine. No, idiota. It has been my custom for almost 30 years, every week, once a week, to give shiur to the whole school, which we call Shiur Klali. It's a general shiur, almost always on Parsha. Again, I need your cooperation that please don't speak because the acoustics here are very bad. Generally, Shiur Klali will not be in this room. It will be in the auditorium, but it doesn't belong to us. And so they booked it out for something else today. So, Noah, when you get a sheet, wave to me, okay, so that I know you got a sheet. And Riley, when you get a sheet, wave to me so I know you've got a sheet. And Moriah, when you've got a sheet, you wave to me so I know you've got a sheet. And that proves to you that I know at least 3 names. Did I know? It is on the right side, don't worry. And they should be fixing the air conditioner in here by this week as well. I hope. Don't eat the sheets, just pass them around. Haley, you didn't come to my chavrusa today. Going to my mashkicha straight away. Great, 1, Moriah's got. Riley, did you get yet? Not yet. Noah, did you get yet? Okay, so while it's going round, I'm going to start because I'm going to run out of time. Wait, is it on? Oh, okay. This week's parasha, I know it's coming to you, but if I wait any longer, I'll run out of time. Thank you. Okay, this week's parasha is Parashat Tavo. We are reaching I think over this side, thank you. Okay, girls, one thing I would ask, I can see all of you, so people talking just puts me off, and you won't understand what I'm doing. So we are in Parashat Tavo. If you're in Shul for Hagbah, you'll see lifting up the Torah very, very near the end of the Torah, quantity-wise, very near the end of Torah, because Nitzavim Vayelech, a tiny parashas, Hazinu is a tiny parasha, then V'zot HaBracha. We're really towards the end of the Torah, and what we have at the beginning of Parashat Tavo is Bikurim, is bringing Bikurim to the Beit Mikdash. There's so many different themes we can talk about on bringing Bikurim to the Beit Mikdash, and I like to do something different. I have a lot of shiurim on each parasha, but I try to do a new shiur each year. And the book that I'm learning from this year is Likutei Torah, which is really Rebbe Natan, who was the Talmud of Rebbe Nachman, wrote a book called Likutei Halachot, which goes through all of Shulchan Aruch with comments of Rebbe Nachman. Someone about 10 years ago took Likutei Halachot and divided it up according to Parsha. So you can get Likutei Halachot, but on the Parsha. And I bought it a few months ago, so I've started learning through, and I came across a piece of Rebbe Nachman there that I wanted to share with you. Again, Bikurim, if you don't know what Bikurim are the first fruits. We have 7 species, and the 7 species, only the 7 species, and you know through the year agriculturally that it works. It works that way. The reason above and beyond the messages of pomegranates grow Rosh Hashanah time. That's when we pick pomegranate. The Torah is made for Israel. The Torah wasn't made for the countries we come from. The Torah was made from Israel. That's why the Arba Minim, they grow in Israel. You don't have to pay thousands of shekel or for Arba Minim. When I first made Aliyah to Kibbutz, I had a different lulav every day. They grow. We have the Arba Minim in Israel. Etrog is a bit more. Certainly shouldn't pay what people are paying for Etrogim today. At the end of the day, it's a glorified lemon. But they grow in Israel, right? And the 7 species grow in Israel. Hanukkah is a time for olives, right? That's a time when we harvest olives, and the oil on Hanukkah comes from olives. Remember, there are 2 fruits that we eat today as fruits that were never eaten as fruit. Grapes were never eaten as fruit. Grapes were wine. They made wine from grapes, and that was what the produce of grapes was. And olives was for oil. Olive, if you ever pick an olive off a tree and put it in your mouth, you'll regret it. Number 1, you might break your teeth, and number 2, it's very, very bitter. You have to pickle an olive to eat. The olives we eat, the olives we like to eat, are pickled olives, right? But those 7 species, all of them grow more or less at the time. In fact, if you were bringing Bikurim, if you went to a Jewish high school, and where's Nadiva's sister? I always used to joke with Nadiva that I think I saw her in Montreal carrying her Sevivon when she was about 5. I don't know that it was her, but we agreed that it might have been her. So we come on Shavuot with our first fruits, and we go to school with our first fruits on our shoulders, but it doesn't make any sense. How many first fruits exist in Israel Shavuot time? Maybe wheat and barley, not pomegranates and dates. I don't really know. Most of the 7 species grow through the summer, and therefore, historically speaking, it's probably more likely that people brought Bikurim on Sukkot, because a lot of people came on Sukkot. It's a whole week. It's not just one day like Shavuot. And they had their fruit of the entire season. Until Sukkot, you can say the special prayer for Bikurim. Between Sukkot and Hanukkah, one of the only times that Hanukkah is mentioned in Shas, in Mishnayot, you can bring Bikurim, but you can't give a vidui. We bring the Bikurim to the Beit Mikdash, and we say a special prayer when we bring the Bikurim. We give our Bikurim, our first fruits, to the Kohen. And when we first want to identify our first fruits, we go into our field and we put a sign around the very first fruits, and that is Mukudash, that is sanctified, that I'm going to bring to Yerushalayim. I have to make a special journey to Yerushalayim. So that's what the mitzvah is, okay? We have our first fruits of the 7 species. Eretz Chita, So'ar, Gefen, Te'ina, V'rimon, Eretz Zeit, Shemen, Udvash. I have my 7 species. I bring them to Yerushalayim. I hand them over to the Kohen. I bring them in a basket. I hand them over to the Kohen, and I say a special tefillah. That's the mitzvah. What I want to try and do here is see above and beyond. Now, the pshat of the Mishnah is that whenever you get anything, whenever you receive anything, you should first turn to God and thank God, meaning I got it from God. When you're a farmer, if you compare being a farmer to being in the wilderness, when you're in the wilderness, when you're in the desert, you're receiving manna every single morning outside your tent, according to the amount of people in your tent. That's what you're receiving. And you've got this Be'er Miriam, this well going around all the time with fresh, cold water. And according to Chazal, the clouds, they are ironing our clothes. So it's a kind of utopia. That's one of the reasons the spies didn't want to come into Israel. Moshe understands that the minute we go into Israel, manna is going to stop. There will no longer be manna from heaven. And we're going to have to work the land on our own. Now, when you work the land on your own, if you've ever worked on kibbutz, and I did, I made aliyah to kibbutz. If you've ever worked on kibbutz, you go out into the fields, you work with your hands. Our hands don't look like hands that worked in the field. We've got soft hands, but if you work in the kibbutz for long enough, your hands will become hard, and you'll need special cream to keep your hands healthy, because to work in the cold, to put your hands in the ground is girls. Hello? Sorry. You work hard in the land, you work all day, and you have different stages. You plow the land, you sow the land, you weed the land, right? Because you have to protect what you're sowing. You irrigate the land. My job in kibbutz was to irrigate, meaning you're in charge of the pipes moving the pipes in a country that doesn't have water on the most regular way. You are continually irrigating and working out the amounts of water. Like a happy day on kibbutz is when it rained. You didn't have to do irrigation. And then eventually you harvest. You harvest the fruit. Now, every reason to feel very happy with yourself. And Moshe Rabbeinu said a few weeks ago that he is worried that when you walk into the land of Israel, you're going to say, Kochi v'otzem yadi asali et hachayil hazeh. I did it. I made the fruit. It's my fruit. I saw farmers, incredible experience with farmers when I was on kibbutz, when they reaped a potato, it's like they had a baby. They would look at the potato like it was theirs. They could identify illness, they could identify disease by looking at a potato. Quite incredible. When I was growing up in England, you thought farmers were simpletons. They didn't really understand. They understand, so they can look at the leaf of a tree and they can tell you if a tree is not well, it is well, what medicine it needs to make it better. It's an incredible profession and takes a lot of hard work. So when you get the fruit, when you eventually reap your harvest, Moshe's worried. People will say, Kochiv, I did it. I got up every morning at 4 a.m, because if you're working in the north of Israel, certainly in the summer months, you work from 4 a.m. till 1 p.m. You can't work after 1 p.m, it's far too hot. So you reap your harvest and you say, Kochiv, so I did it. So one of the mitzvot, one of a number of mitzvot that is there to educate. No, you take your first fruit, you take it to Yerushalayim. It's a shlep to Yerushalayim. It's even a shlep today from Bet Shan to Yerushalayim. Still takes 2 hours, even if you're driving. An hour and a half, 2 hours. So if you have to get on your horse and cart and make your way to Yerushalayim with your first fruit, it's a big deal. Coming to Yerushalayim in the time of Torah is a big deal. It's not just as it might be a big deal for someone come from Chutz La'aretz, but today you can get in a car from Eilat and be in Jerusalem in 6 hours. But if you're coming from the Golan, if you're coming from Tiberia to Yerushalayim with a horse and cart, it's a whole project. You're coming to bring a korban. You cannot understand coming to Jerusalem if you don't understand the context of what coming to Jerusalem means. It's a family project, and Jerusalem is the capital, the spirit, and still is the spiritual capital of the world. It's a spiritual experience. As you see every night, and it's going to get far more busy from Motzei Shabbat. You'll see masses coming here for Slichot. It's unbelievable. Tens of thousands of people just coming to say Slichot and go home. But they come to Yerushalayim and people, and then you've already have Siurei Slichot. People are coming and touring Yerushalayim at night and waking everyone up before they do Slichot, because they have to do a few sins so they can do Slichot. So first they wake up everyone in the Rova, and then they go and say sorry at the Kotel. And then they come back the next night and wake up, and then, okay. So the easy idea of Bikurim, the most obvious idea of Bikurim, which I'm not dealing with today, is that it's Hakarat HaTov, is that my first fruits, whenever I earn anything, whenever my wife earns anything, we give Maseh Ksafim. We take the wage that we earn and we give a certain percentage, normally 10% to tzedakah, right? To understand, to understand that anything I earn is not me. I get it from God. Anything could happen. Right, we have a lovely group of girls this year, but recruitment every year, you wouldn't believe it, right? We've been around for 31 years, and when I go to recruit, I have to recruit against schools that just started. And as far as you're concerned, it doesn't make one bit of difference. It doesn't make one bit of difference that I've been around for 30 years, that I have 3,000 girls gone through the school, and this school's never had a girl in their life, and they haven't got any record, they haven't any faculty that they can prove. I have to stand in America and fight. I have to stand in England and fight. And in South Africa and Australia, a bit less so, that less people go there, but I still have to, you can't take anything for granted that it's because of me and who I am. Everything is hishtadlut, and everything is siyata dishmaya. Everything is. I was meant to go to South Africa this year at the end of June, and Iran had a problem, and I had a family issue as well, so I couldn't go, and I had to put my trip off for 2 months. I went in the 9 days in the end to speak in South Africa, to recruit, and things can stop you from doing what you want to do. You need siyata dishmaya, and when you get the results, you have to thank God. You have to thank God for that. I have to thank God every day that I have all of you, right? That I have a student body and that you're here, and it's not to be given. And if I ever did take it for granted, then Corona came along and reminded me not to take anything for granted. Because my mother was very, very sick, not with Corona, and she died. And she died the day Corona broke out in Israel. And I sat Shiva. When I got up from Shiva, I had no school left. The girls had left. And I didn't know whether they'd ever come back. We never knew what was going to happen. And I remember 2-3 months later when the MTA came back, they were the first people to come, almost one of the first student groups to come back to Israel that year. I was much crying when I met them at the bus because I didn't think that I'd be able to start the school again. I had no idea. We didn't know how long it was going to go on for, when there would be some kind of cure. We had no idea. And this was my life. I put everything into my life and suddenly it just disappeared. We've been through intifadas, wars, terrorist attacks. Nothing ever closes school. Corona closes school. And I wasn't even here. I wasn't even here to make the decision. It was just closed. And from that moment, I've never taken anything for granted. Everything we have is b'siyata d'shmaya. Everything we have siyata d'shmaya. And I can prove everything. Everything we have. Even when a girl is sitting here now, she thinks, the reason I'm here is because I had a good interview. I'm just telling you, there could be a day we're sitting on applications. We're sitting on applications, okay? If you're the first application that we're looking at on that day, we're doing Rashi, Tosfot, Rambam on you. The girl says, I didn't like to go to shul, now I like to go to shul. Now we're sitting and learning. Why did she like to go to shul? Why did she like to go to shul? And what's her problem? And we've all got a lot of koach. We've got a lot of energy for the first interview. We've sat through 50 interviews. It's the end of the day. Is she Jewish? She's in. Right? So your luck is, what is the first interview? What is the last? It's got nothing to do with you. It's the first school we decided to look at. It's the first school. And if you went to Frisch, well, you got a problem, right? Because so many people apply from there. If you went to a school, I'm going to make up a place in Nebraska. I once went to Nebraska to interview someone, to Omaha. I didn't take her, but I did go to Omaha. It was worth the trip because she didn't belong here and it was good for her, good for us. But if you come from a school where no one is, you've got a better chance. It's got nothing to do with you. It's to do with where you were born, right? If you were born in the tri-state area, you've got a harder chance. If you're not, you've got a better chance. So many different things that we take credit for have nothing to do with us. Siyata d'shmaya, that's what Bikurim is really about, okay? Before I give you the Hasidic take on it, I want to tell you what Bikurim is really about. It's about appreciation. Not taking things for granted, understanding when I get up in the morning that it's a bracha. And I was just thinking about it now, you know, in Israel, everything becomes very personal. We're one family. I saw the pictures of these chevra who were killed today. Some of these chevra, they're your age. They're kids. Like they haven't had a life. They got up this morning, either to go to yeshiva or to go to work, and they're being buried now. And I don't say this in a morbid way. I say you have to have an appreciation for what you have. Don't take things for granted, ever. That you have life, so live life. And not with that stupid candy clump and temple plump. You don't want to spend your life on a stupid machine pressing buttons and trying to get a high score. Really, you don't. And everyone in this room knows. Everyone in this room knows that if someone turned around to you and said you've got an hour to live, you would have to be cuckoo to start playing temple plump. Right? You'd have to be cuckoo, temple plump. You know that with the gorilla that runs and carries up the money and falls in the water? You don't play that anymore, temple plump, quack? No, temple plump. That's a real name. You know that you wouldn't do that. You know if someone turned around and you said you've got half an hour to live, you're not going to do it. You wouldn't even watch a film if you had half an hour. I want to see, I don't know, modern films. I know, Toy Story 12. You wouldn't sit down and watch a film if you had half an hour to live, right? Hey, I mean, so why do it? You don't know whether you've got half an hour to live, so why do it now? Why do it now? It's intense, right? But that's Bikurim. That's what Bikurim really is. Now let's see Rebbe Nachman, okay? Rebbe Nachman is a genius, ladies, and I'm not one of these people who jumps up and down on vans. You can't imagine me doing that, really. In Poland I could, but I don't wear a big kippah with a little bonbon on the top. And I don't think Rebbe Nachman did either. He was a genius. He was a genius. Just like the Lubavitcher Rebbe didn't just hand out donuts. He was a genius as well. And people have perceptions of people because they know nothing of their Torah. So Rebbe Nachman, I've told a few of you this week, and he died at the age of 38 of tuberculosis. He spent the last 2 years of his life coughing blood in Uman, which is where he was buried, not where he lived, where he was buried. He wanted to be buried with 16,000 Jews who had been killed in a pogrom. And that's why he didn't live as a person in Uman. He lived in Bretzlev, and he was born in Mezibuzh, right? He is the great-grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. It's a total direct line to the Baal Shem Tov. A different chassidut altogether, as you see. So the first thing comes from a Haggadah of Rebbe Nachman. Listen to what he says. Honestly, girls, why I'm jealous of you There's a lot of reasons I'm jealous of you, and probably the length of your hair is a starting point. But oh, come on, I'm worthy of a laugh. I'm as tired as I've still got to teach parents in an hour. There's a Haggadah that speaks about Rabbi Nachman's Torah. B'chol yom. Honestly, everything's a gem here. You're discovering Rabbi Nachman, if you haven't yet, 40 years before I did, okay, which gives you an advantage. B'chol yom, b'chol rega. Every day, every moment, hakol matchil me'atchala. Everything starts again. Everything starts from the beginning. Ha'olam mitchadesh shuv v'shuv ein sof pa'amim. The world is renewing itself time and time again, without you knowing it. It looks like it's the same world when you wake up in the morning. It's a new world. Today is a new world. Tefisatenu et haolam ka'olam kavua v'lo ka'olam mitchadesh omnam mesharetet et tchushat haseder. Our grasp that we think the world is an ongoing world, which is continuing, it serves our feeling for stability. והיציבות שאנו זקוקים לה כדי לנהל שגרת חיים תקינה. It serves our purpose that we can live a regular life without being shook up. אך קושרת אותנו עם כישלונות העבר ועם זיכרון של ניסיונות להשתנות שלא הצלחנו בהם. But if you see the world, if you see your world as an ongoing life, and you've had not such a successful past, it can really hold you back. It can really hold you back. If you've not been successful, if you've failed, if you've not succeeded, I want you to know, every single girl here, there are girls in this room from every program that it's quite possible we waitlisted. I do not remember one girl that we waitlisted. I don't look it up. I'm not in the slightest bit interested. And I don't tell teachers either which girl was waitlisted, which girl was accepted. I'm not interested. You walk through the door, you start mechadash. If we decide to accept you, you're a student like every other student. And that's it, finished. I don't want someone coming in here and looking over their shoulder. Oh, they know this, they know that. We don't share information. It's not something I'm prepared to do. And I'm prepared even to make mistakes by not sharing information. Why? Because of this Torah. Because I want a girl to be able to start from the beginning, to start off, to have an ability. If you're not allowed to have a fresh start and you make a few mistakes when you're younger, you're stuck with that for the rest of your life. And you can't ever do anything in your life because people keep reminding you, what about that? And what about they did that? That's a problem with a police record, right? If you have a police record, which is essentially there to safeguard employers, to safeguard the public, but a person can't get out of jail. Because every time they go for a job, something they did with drugs 25 years ago comes up on the computer. And they can't move, right? Because a cautious boss is going to take precautions for his own partner. And they can't get a break. They can't move forward. So if you see the world as a flowing, girls, you really are disturbing me. If you see the world as a flowing process, then there are advantages. Obviously, you have the stability, but the disadvantages are if you failed, how do you get out of that? How do you change your life? Ha'emunah be'olam ha'mitchadesh, next paragraph, lelo hafsaka. I'll finish on time. It doesn't matter if I get through the sources, okay? Ha'emunah be'olam ha'mitchadesh lelo hafsaka, ubekach she'avar lerov eno relevanti. The fact that the world is renewing itself all the time, even though you can't see it. When the sun rises, it looks like the sun went down, the sun rises, and the past is simply irrelevant. It just doesn't matter. You can learn from the past, but that's all. That's all. I asked a few of you a question last week. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year. And then after Rosh Hashanah, we do Yom Kippur. And that's historical, right? Because Chet HaEgel, the forgiveness for Chet HaEgel, happened on Yom Kippur. But it doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at it. You bring in the new year, and then you talk about all the things you did last year. Slichot is a minhag, right? The Aseret Yemei Teshuvah is Rosh Hashanah through to Yom Kippur, including Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So I bring in the new year, I blow the shofar, I go home, I eat all my simanim, and I make brachas for this year, and then I go back to shul and spend the week saying how I sinned last year. But last year's finished. So to coin a phrase, I call it back to the future. Meaning after Rosh Hashanah, after I bring in the new year, so I look back to last year only to make next year better, but not to immerse myself in guilt. There's no value to immerse yourself in guilt. There's nothing in it. The only reason to review things of the past is in order to build the future, is to learn lessons. There's every reason to look at mistakes that you've made and to try and do something in a different way. That's a very positive. So I have a new year, not the same year again. I don't want the same year again. Otherwise, I don't grow, I don't age, I don't anything. I'm just repeating my life. I have no life. I've said on numerous occasions that we speak a lot about God writing in the book of life. You've heard that before. My feeling is that God wants you to write in the book of life. It's only if you don't write in the book of life that God writes in the book of life. I'm meant to be writing in the book of life. It's about my focus, about my direction. If a person writes themselves in the book of life, God won't write anything at all. But the question is, what's my intent? Am I just going to I'm just going to do the same thing again next year. There's nothing new. The minute Yom Kippur goes out, I do the same thing again. I didn't mean anything I said. There's a question on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, according to halacha, you get kapara, you get atonement. The minute Ne'ilah finishes, your slate is cleaned. That's the halacha, right? The best time to die, if we have to die, is at the end of Ne'ilah. That's a great time to die because you're clear. You go to Shamayim, like Rav Lichtenstein. You go to an angel. You go to Shamayim. Great time to die. If there's a great time to die, it's Motzei Yom Kippur, straight after Ne'ilah. And then we say Mariv. What do we say at the beginning of Mariv? V'hu rachum yechaper avon. God forgives us for our sins. What did I manage to do in the last 10 seconds? We just blew shofar. I finished Ne'ilah. What did I manage to do in the last 10 seconds that I have to say, V'hu rachum yechaper avon? And there are numerous answers, but my favorite answer, one of my favorite answers, is if you look up the source of V'hu rachum yechaper avon in Tehillim Ayin Chet, you'll see that the psukim that precede V'hu rachum yechaper avon about saying things to God that you don't mean. The only possible transgression I could have done on Yom Kippur is said sorry for things that I had no intention of even aspiring to correct. And that's V'hu rachum yechaper avon. I could have spent all of Ne'ilah saying al chet, al chet, al chet, al chet, and I have absolutely no intention to even try. And that's not a sin against God, it's a sin against yourself. If you never want to try, you never want to aspire to do something different, you think that you got it right. So this is the introduction to Rebbe Nachman. I want to have a look at Rebbe Nachman in Likutei Halachot, okay? An interesting place that it is, and I won't give you the background why it's there, but the halacha that he makes this comment on is basa b'chalav. It's dafka to do with meat and milk. And there's a reason behind it, but it doesn't matter. I put whenever I put 3 dots in a source, it means I'm not quoting you the whole source, I'm just joining the source in the middle. As it is, it's quite long, so I just want to read you the source. Ki bikurim hem b'chinat hitchadshut. So I started off the shiur by giving you the basic understanding of bikurim, hakarat hatov, appreciation, siyata dishmaya, and Rabbi Nachman has a different take. He says bikurim is a bechina, has a facet of hitchadshut, of renewal. Shesrichim lavi apri hamitbakeret umitchadeshet. Every year you have to bring a fruit, which is a new fruit. I had pomegranates last year, but I can't bring last year's pomegranate. I have to bring the new pomegranate that grew this year. Umitchadeshet b'chol shana, and every year it's a new fruit. Lahaviyah miyad leveit Hashem. I have to bring it to God's house, to the Beit Mikdash. Ulhodot alav laHashem ulesaper alav et kol hatzarot she'avru al Yisrael mitchilatam. And then what do I do? It's very strange because I bring this fruit to the Beit Mikdash. You open up the parasha, and I start talking about the history of Israel. We were slaves in Egypt. It's part of the Haggadah, right? We were slaves in Egypt. We came to Israel, and now I finally bring in my fruit to the Beit Mikdash. And it's a look back. You look back, and if you look back and you have perspective, you learn to appreciate. Ladies, I never forget this. I never forget. Not a day in my life in Israel have I never not appreciated my country. I spent too many days in Auschwitz and in Treblinka not to appreciate my country and not to be aware that however bad people think this is heaven. If you'd have told people 80 years ago who were lying in barracks in Majdanek when they were liberated that we would have a country with an army in 80 years' time, they would have hit you and tell you, get out of my room, what are you talking about? An appreciation, and people speak like it's so bad, and it is bad, and October the 7th was bad, but it wasn't the Holocaust. We have an army. I have 3 sons in that army. I have the Khatanim in that army. We've had it worse than this, much worse than this, and however bad, it's never as bad as it's been. They still attack us, but we get them back, and we fight back. I can tell you one thing, I never had a relationship with Sinwar. He never came to the Midrashah, neither did his children apply. But I can tell you one thing, he never dreamed of the reaction he would get for what he did on October 5th. Never dreamed that we would flatten Gaza. Never dreamed that we would rout Hamas, and Hamas is going to have to run out of Gaza if it wants to survive. He never dreamed of this reaction. He thought he was dealing with a Jew of 80, 90 years ago, where you slap him on the face, he turns the other cheek, and you slap him on the other cheek, and he has the resilience to survive, but not fight back. If Mordechai and Elevich saw our army today, he wouldn't believe what our army is. When he says, I'm writing for a line in history, in 1943 in Warsaw, an appreciation, you look back at the history of the Jewish people, you understand where you are? We're in Jerusalem. Jewish Jerusalem. A step away from the Beit Mikdash. There are people now who go up on Har HaBayit, not about the halach at the moment, you daven shachris on Har HaBayit. My daughter got married almost a year ago. She wanted to go on I don't go on Har HaBayit very often, Temple Mount. I don't go very often, but she wanted to go. I took my older daughter when she got married. So we went, and they were davening shachris. And you know the mitzvah on Har HaBayit is to bow down, flat, to go flat down. Now, until last year, you could never do it. And now they've allowed us to do it. I was like, I'm a sugar in it. I must have gone down 5, 8 times, I think I counted. I just kept going down. I got my suit all filthy dirty. Like standing opposite the place of Kodesh HaKodashim, going down and up and down and up and down and up. Leo D, right, whose wife and 2 kids were murdered a few years ago, he remarried last week. So he went on Har HaBayit last week and he put on tefillin. He got arrested actually on the day of his wedding, or he got removed from Har HaBayit. You're not allowed to put tefillin on Har HaBayit. That's an incredible thing. 2,000 years, Yerushalayim, we're from Jews. You're praying about Jerusalem, you're praying out Jerusalem, you're praying out Jerusalem, and now you've got Jerusalem. Don't take anything for granted. You bring the Bikurim and you go through the history of the Jewish people. I'm now in the Beit Mikdash. I'm now bringing my Bikurim. My God, this is fantastic. I started off in Egypt. I started off in Auschwitz, and now I'm here in Yerushalayim. There are still people alive who are in Auschwitz, and now I'm in Yerushalayim. To have that appreciation, the ability to look back and understand where you are and what the position you are in, just because all of us, I was born in 1966, even though I'm 25, you have to work out the math, it doesn't work. I never worked it out myself, but I don't remember Israel without Jerusalem. I was too busy with my bottle, right? I don't remember Israel. I never lived without Jerusalem. I spent my entire working life in the old city of Jerusalem. My entire working life I've spent working in Jerusalem, not just Jerusalem, the old city of Jerusalem, which is real Jerusalem. An appreciation for that. And understand. So I come to the Beit Mikdash, I show my appreciation. Va'anita va'amarta, arami oved avivi ered Mitzrayim. I come with my fruit and I stand in the Beit Mikdash, and I want to remind myself, not God knows my history, remind myself of where I've come from. You're seeing it now. I never saw it before. I saw it in history, but we're seeing Europe today for what Europe is and what Europe always was. Anti-Semitic, murderous, hateful. France, Belgium, Holland, all of them. The Dutch got away with it for a few years saying they saved their Jews. We know historically that's not true. Some saved their Jews. They know better than anyone else. Most of their Jews went to Sobibor. France, their Jews went to Auschwitz. Belgium, Bichlal. And they're all preaching to us. So we suddenly experiencing this Europe, this wonderful, wonderful Europe where, the British, I'm afraid, right? The British who are preaching to us about bombing Gaza when they destroyed Hamburg and they destroyed Dresden, and they weren't destroying army bases. They were killing civilians on purpose. Bomber Harris, not related to Rebecca. They were killing civilians on purpose to make Hitler surrender. 30, 40, 50,000 people. They did it begava. And they dare preach to us. They dare preach to us an appreciation. And it will come to America as well. You've got a few years of Trump and his politics, but the Democrats will be back. What's going to happen in New York, ich weiß what's going to happen with that man in New York. It's very frightening, right? It's very frightening. He's got the popular vote, and he's a Jew hater, lelo cheshbon. Makes you an appreciation of where you are. Arami oved aviv v'yered Mitzrayim v'yago sham b'imtei ma'ad v'hisham l'goy gadol atzum v'rav yireu ki ikar chiyuv ha'bikurim. So to have the hitchadshut, I have to have an appreciation, right? So ikar chiyuv ha'bikurim merametz al hitchadshut. I have to be mechadesh. You have to be mechadesh. You know, for you ladies, it might be a bit lost because at the age that you're at, for you ladies at the back, I can't remember how old you are, but it might be more relevant for you. But when you're younger, you have something new every year. You had 4 years in high school, a bit longer if you're English, it's a different system. Australia, I don't even know the system, South Africa. And then, but it's a short period of time. And then this is new. This is all new. It's a bit of a pain, right? The group dynamics, you've got to find new friends, and then you're here for 2 or 3 years, obviously, and then after that, you do something else new, okay? You go to university, you do Shana Bet, you do Shirut Lumi, you do whatever you choose to do, but it's new. And you do that for a few years, and then, please God, you get married, and that's new, and then you have children, and that's new. But at some stage in your life, you're just doing the same thing every day. And there's nothing new there at all. There was a TV program when I was younger, which I don't think was very successful. But I happened to see a few of the shows. It was called 30-something. You wouldn't have seen it played back because I don't think it was good. But the whole theme of the show was people had reached the age of 30 plus. They had a job, they had a wife, they had kids, and they slowly entered some kind of midlife crisis. There's nothing new. I'm doing this more or less for the next 40 years, more or less. So the excitement might be a kigel in Shul on Shabbos. I mean, it wasn't a Jewish show, so it wouldn't have been kigel. But they have a certain event. You live from event to event, but day-to-day life is routine, boring, and you get into some kind of midlife crisis. So it's not as relevant to you. It's still relevant to you because you can get into a routine in the midrashah where you think it's just you should know. You know, when girls tell me April, May, they're feeling burnt out, I said, just have a look at Rab Bailey. He'll be marching up and down the classroom, screaming, smacking his hand on the board in June, just like he's doing now. He'll be doing it for 20 years. With the same energy. Like it's today. I've watched him. I've seen him do chuppahs the same way that he does classrooms. I was once at a chuppah, she wanted him to do, and he's standing there with a chuppah, and he's saying, the chatam, the kala, they're getting married. The pasuk says, kol sason, kol simcha, kol chatam. The crowd, I thought he's going to throw a board duster at one of the guests, like, put your phone away. The energy. So you think, well, you know, I'm going to share again, but the teacher's going to share again. The teacher has the energy, the teacher has the age, he has the fire. Every day, every time you have to start again. You wake up in the morning, it's a new day, it's another day. Whatever happened tomorrow doesn't matter. Whatever happened yesterday doesn't matter. What matters is what happens today. Today I get a chance to start again. When I was in high school, I know it'd be very difficult for you to appreciate. I was quite a naughty boy. Hard to appreciate. I had this like jokes store that I used to go to in Euston Road called Allen Allen's. I used to get my collection of smoke bombs and stink bombs and itching powder. I had a whole set of these things. And I didn't do so well in school. I got into a lot of like tussles with people. So by the end of the school year, most of my trousers had holes in them. And my Hasmonean tie was like ripped, and we had to wear a school cap, which was also a mess. And all my books in class had like VP. VP doesn't mean very important, it means very poor, or see me. And it wasn't because I had a good relationship with my teachers, it was because they didn't see me very often. And I came to school on the first day of a new year with a brand new uniform, because my mum got me a brand new uniform with beautiful new textbooks. Now, I'm not a great example because for the first day, I thought, this is the year, I'm going to get it right. Until my first very poor or see me which didn't take long. But I do remember that feeling of hitchadshut. I'm starting something new. It's a new year. It's a new form master. It's new classes. I can do it again. I've got a chance to do something else. I've got a chance. And Rabbi Nachman says this is every single day. This is every single day. I have a chance. It doesn't matter what you've been, who you were. It matters who you are and where you're going. It only matters where you're going. So the only thing that matters is where are you going? At least you should know where you want to be headed. Don't be pulled down by those desolate, despairing comments that say, you failed, you're not going to make it, you can't do it. No, you can. You start again, and suddenly it will break, and suddenly something will come right. And you will encourage yourself. By looking at Jewish history, there is nothing more despairing than looking at Jewish history. There are no people in the world who have suffered as much as us. There are no people who've been targeted as much as us. But we keep coming back. And why do we? How do you keep coming back after pogrom, after all the anti-Semitism that we face? Because you have that feeling that you can renew. That there is no despair, because tomorrow is another day, because the sun will rise again. And from my perspective, if it won't rise for me, it will rise for my people. It will always rise for my people. And it always has risen for my people. It's another day, it's a new day. And even when I was before Egypt, when Lavan was chasing me, and everything that Yaakov went through when he was by Lavan. Lavan cheated him. Like they cheat us today. All the time they're cheating us a Spanish. I don't know what they got in their minds, the Spanish. They haven't forgotten 1492. What's their issue with Israel? What have we ever done to them that they take it? All these things. Aseret monim, tens of times. But they don't succeed. We're still here. Uvda, we're still here. Atem nitzavim hayom. We are still here. And they can have their mini successes, but we're still here. And that gives me the belief that I can still be here tomorrow. I see beyond myself. I can still be here tomorrow, and I can still be new tomorrow, I can still refresh tomorrow, I can still make good tomorrow. And if you had a bad day today, you didn't understand a word Rav Avigdor said, you're in good company. Rav Avigdor understands what he's saying. I'm not sure how many students even get close to understanding what he's saying. He's a very, very clever man. You didn't understand a word. You sat there thinking, what the hell am I doing here? I'm going up to Rav Milson. I'm moving into Rav Yoni. I'm going to Rav Eitan. I'm done. It's over, Rav Avigdor. We can be friends, but it's over. And you're finished. Have another go. You try it again. And you'll understand a bit more. You'll understand a bit more. You'll understand a bit more. And in the end, you'll stalk him. You'll simply stalk him. You'll follow him everywhere, and you'll phone him. You'll phone him from Chutz La'aretz. I have students who do that to this day. They phone him from Chutz La'aretz, and you won't leave him alone. And the same goes for every teacher. You go to a class, okay. I got to tell you something. I might have told you, but I got to tell you again. When you get older, you pass 25, you tend to repeat yourself sometimes. That's what people of that age have told me. You will laugh. I won't leave. You won't have your night off until you laugh. I had a girl. She came from Cape Town. No, Saban. But it wasn't No Saban. She came from, this is an absolute true story. She came from Cape Town. She's sitting in room 9. I'm talking about 28 years ago. She's sitting in room 9, which used to be a cheder ochel in the classroom. And she's crying. As girls do. She's crying. I went up to her and I said, friendly, I said, why are you crying? And she said to me, I've been sitting here for 2 hours and I've understood one word. Skip 10 months. I go into room 9, 10 months later, tell you Mama's true story. And she's crying. I said, what are you crying for now? And this is what she said to me. I've been sitting here for 2 hours and I've only learned 6 Mishnayot. And she totally forgot where she was 11 months before, where she could only do 2 words. She has 6 Mishnayot. in relation to where she was coming from. I'll tell you a lovely ending to that story, which has nothing to do with this. When she left Israel, she went back to Cape Town. I used to visit Cape Town a lot. We get the best from Cape Town, but we don't get so many from Cape Town. And every time I went back there, she says, stop telling that story about me. Everyone knows it's me. So I said, I never say your name, and I'm going to keep telling your story, so there. And then when she left Israel, she gave me a box with a ring in it. Mama's a true story. She gave me a box. No, I was married. It's okay. It's all okay. Anyway, it's the other way around. And she gave me a box with a ring in it, and she said to me, when I make Aliyah, give me the ring back. So I took the ring home and I put it in my room. And she was back there for a long time, and there were times she wasn't making Aliyah anywhere. She wasn't going anywhere at all. She was going to the Lion's Head and the penguins or whatever they have there. She wasn't going anywhere. So she made Aliyah. About 10 years later, she made Aliyah, this girl. And she decides to marry a Scotsman. This wedding got in the newspaper because he wore a kilt. And this was very, very interesting for Israelis to see a man in a skirt. Not so interesting anymore, but at the time it was very, very interesting. And she asked me to do the wedding. And she totally forgot about the ring. Mamash, a true story. It's like beautiful story. I did the whole wedding, just so you know, no halachic problems here. I did the whole wedding. And at the end of the wedding, I took the ring out of my pocket and I said to the Khatan, this girl gave me this ring 10 years ago. She said, I should give it back when she makes Aliyah. So I want you to give her the ring. Mamash had, Maaseh Shaya. Mamash happened. And this girl, like what she achieved, and it's so easy to despair. It's so easy to despair. You have a bad day. You don't know what the rabbis want from you. You don't know what they want from you. And then they give you hard things to do, like going to the beach. And how am I going to do that? Well, the waves and everything and the sandcastles. And my friend's going to break my sandcastle. Her sandcastle will be better than mine. Everything's even tonight's a mashpeh. Where am I going to grow tonight? Right? Am I going to grow in the Rova? Am I going to grow in Yerushalayim? Where am I? What am I going after supper? You know, the Last Supper. After the supper, where am I going to go? Everything is an issue. Everything's a big deal. And Rabbi Nachman is saying, look at the past to move to the future. Appreciate that things can be new. You can make things new. You can make it work. And if today wasn't a good day, tomorrow will be a better day. Because tomorrow has nothing to do with today. Tomorrow is a new day. It's an absolutely new day. Next paragraph. So when we talk about this national, I come to the Beit Mikdash, I talk about how bad it was. All those times when I could have said, it's enough. It's not geschmack to be a Yid. It's terrible to be a Yid. They're killing me. They're shooting me. For God's sakes, they killed 1,400 citizens in our country. They did that in America. They would flatten any country tomorrow. 2,000 people in 9/11, they flattened Afghanistan. They carpet bombed Afghanistan. Any country would do what we've done. And you every day you have this country's this boycotting, and these pop stars who don't know a river from a sea. They don't know a sea from a river, and they're all preaching peace, and they all want Palestine. They can't even find it on a map. And it can lead you to absolute despair. So you look at your history and you understand we've been there before, we'll get through it. And tomorrow's another day. But what about me as an individual, says Rabbi Nachman? Every one of us have Lavan and Esav inside of us. We have a battle with Lavan. We have a battle with Esav. The Arba Malchiot and the four kingdoms, all of the national battles take place inside of us all of the time. It's a battle between Cain and Hevel, Yaakov and Esav. They're internal battles as well as being stories and occurrences in the Torah. וכולם עומדים על ישראל בכל דור ודור בכלליות וכן בפרטיות, עומדים כולם על כל אחד לכלותם. Rav Amital used to tell us the first Yom HaAtzmaut, the first ever Yom HaAtzmaut. He told us that there was a suicide bomber in Ben Yehuda killed 50 people on the first Yom HaAtzmaut. So he says, so what did we do? We buried the dead, And we carried on dancing. Because we have to carry on. That's what we have to do. We have to carry on. And we take that into our personal lives. All of those who persevere us, all of those who talk against us, and all those personal internal battles that you have, do not despair. There's nothing wrong with failure, as long as you know how to get up. And I want to finish, the story I'll tell you another time. I want to finish with a different story that I mentioned in passing at Ne'ilah last year. There was a man who had a son, and his son was a bit of a weakling, a bit of a nebuch. And the father wanted to build up the kid's resistance. So he took the kid to some kind of Chinese martial arts guy, or Japanese martial arts guy. And he paid a lot of money for this kid to have lessons. And after a year, he was invited to the Mesibat Siyum, and the kid was going to fight the master. And the father comes and he's got great expectations. And he watches the master smack the kid down and smack the kid down and smack the kid down time and again. And at the end of the session, the father goes up to the master and he says, I want my money back. All I saw was my kid falling down. And the master says, really? All I saw was your kid getting up. All I saw was your kid getting up. I taught him how to get up when he's knocked down. We get knocked down so many times in our lives. And the question is, how do we get up? When you go to the beach tomorrow, I'm taking the opportunity to go and see my niece, who's a widow with 2 children. But she's a captain in the Air Force. And she was in the middle of operations with Iran when her husband was killed. She mamish runs the base. And I go and I see her. She's only 28, and he was only 29. And she's got 2 kids at home. They'll never remember their father. But her approach is, I've got to move on. I've got to keep going. There is no other option, really, unless you want to live your life in depression and self-pity. Easier said than done. But it's a different side of the mitzvah of Bikurim. It's not just appreciation of God. It's knowing how lehit chadesh, which is the most tremendous gift. My Rebbe used to say, Rabbi Bernstein used to say, the pasuk says, Breshit bara Elokim. So he used to play on the words, God creates beginnings. God creates beginnings. So whenever you're down, you know tomorrow's another day. Start again, and we can make it work. Okay, so we'll finish up here. Finish. No. That's fine. Thank you.